Hi, welcome to Turning the Keys podcast, the place where I will share the insights and tools that have helped me in my journey, and maybe this can help you too or serve you somehow. I am Anara Sultan, and I am glad to be here. Today, I want to talk about compassion, more specifically, the self compassion, because I feel that when we develop self compassion, we tend to have more compassion towards other people. While if we have compassion towards other people, doesn't automatically apply to us having self-compassion. And in a world full of criticism, judgment, and even cruelty, it's difficult for us to understand how compassion looks like. So I would like to bring you some practical examples on how you can start to develop this self-compassion and apply it into your life. And I feel like the first thing we need to do in order to have compassion is to acknowledge that we are humans. I spoke before about us being immortal, and there are several aspects of our souls and our evolution that comes with this perception that we are immortals, but it's also necessary to understand that we are in this planet with this body for a limited period of time. And our body requires some maintenance. So I have this strong connection with dreams. And during my sleep, I can get messages in my dreams. And one of those nights, I had a dream that I was receiving a message for someone. It was like a guidance. So I woke up and I immediately thought about this fair. There is this fair, I think it's called Mystic Fair, that happens on the last weekend of every month in a store near where I live. And they have different kind of practitioners. So they have people that do Reiki, people that read tarot cards, people that draw you a message or talk about astrology. And it's like you pay a fee and you get to see two of these people. And I chose to see a woman that reads her hand. It's called palmistry. So by the format of your hand or the lines on your hand, they can tell you things about your personality or even your path here on earth. So I go there and I show my hands to this woman. She looks at my lines and she said, "You are the fire archetype. There is a lot of aspects of fire in your personality, and this translates as you being brave and radical and carrying the ability to break patterns. But people that have as much fire as I see in you have to be careful because fire is power. Just think of a fire in a plantation. How quick it is to spread, to grow. If the fire is out of control, it can bring a lot of destruction. And people that have as much fire as you can have the tendency to invest all of their energy into a project or into a relationship. And this energy spreads fast like fire. But if you give everything at once, you will have no energy left. And it's not a coincidence that the term we use for this extreme exhaustion, it's called burnout, because it does come from fire. Herbert Freudenberger, the psychologist who popularized the term burnout in the 70s, he linked the term with the state of a building or a candle after they burn out. And after you burn a candle, what is there left? Nothing. It's incapable of function anymore. So I went to this fair and I received this message, and I didn't feel like, okay, it was a big surprise to me. So I was not understanding why my spiritual guides, advised me to be there. And after the fair, I had a really long day trying to record another podcast with my friend. And One thing that caught my attention is that my friend told me a couple of times, I'm tired, I feel tired. And I was trying to understand, like, why do you feel tired? And I was, trying to comfort her somehow and also understand why she was so tired. But I noticed that I never say that. I never say I'm tired because I don't acknowledge being tired, but my body does. And I feel like acknowledging that we are humans is understanding how to listen to our body. And with that comes the second thing, which is practicing self care with intention. I feel like we all talk about self care now, but I don't know, I feel like some self care routines can look too much Instagrammable or too gourmet. I feel like the first thing we should do for self care is to sleep. There's a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I think that's how you say his name. And in this book, talks about how our brain tries to create those automated process to save energy. And then he mentions this cycle of habits when you have something that triggers and then you have a reward for it. And another thing he mentions is that usually we have like combo of habits. So when you want to change this combo, because one bad habit triggers another bad habit, and when you see you have a bunch of unhealthy habits, to change the combo, you first need to identify which one is the main habit, which one is the father of all habits, and they're triggering this chain reaction. And when I did this exercise to understand which one was my master habit that were triggering all the others, I understood that it was sleep, which can be pretty simple, right? So if you want to sleep, just go to sleep. But it's not just going to sleep, it's the quality of your sleep. And there is when things get harder. If you've ever been around an infant enough to see their routine, you know how important sleeping is for them. And they have this large chunk of sleep at night, but they also need several naps during the day. But not all kids are good nappers or good sleepers, so there is a whole market behind infant sleep. Noise machines, you have swaddles, blackout curtains, and every once in a while they come up with a new device that is supposed to be essential for your infant to sleep. And there is also the classes where people will teach you how to create a sleeping routine for your baby and make your baby sleep better. And by watching those classes and those videos, something I've learned, it's called sleep window. They teach you how to observe this window because it's pretty important that you put your baby to nap or to sleep within this window. If you miss it, then the cortisol level of the infant will rise, and then they will be irritated and unable to fall asleep. And the interesting thing is that this window never goes away. We still have it as adults. The difference that we have a larger window because we can stay awake the entire day. But if you start to pay attention to your body, you will see when your body's telling you, hey, I'm done for today. And if you push that, if you don't go to bed when your body's telling you to, then you have a burst of energy. You feel agitated because it's your brain telling, hey, this person is not going down, so let's pump more energy. And then you have this huge wave of cortisol, which will make it impossible for you to sleep. Have ever happened to you like you being super tired, and in the minute that you lay down to sleep, you cannot because you're agitated? And it's like, okay, all I need is to rest, but I cannot rest. That's probably because you missed your window. And I noticed that the first sign my body will give me to show me that I was tired is insomnia. And this will make my sleep quality decrease tremendously. And to keep up with the energy during the day, I will start to crave sugar like a maniac. And if I listen to my body and give it the sugar that it was craving, then I'll feel guilty about it. Or I would feel ugly and even a failure at times. And I would assume that I was eating sugar because I was tired and that I was tired because I didn't sleep. But in reality, I didn't sleep because I was already tired. And to prevent me from getting to this point of exhaustion, I could take breaks without feeling guilty, which is the third way we can start to implement self compassion in a practical way. I feel like as adults, we often have a lot going on. We have work, we have the maintenance of the house, we have the maintenance of our bodies, so count, cook healthy foods, go to the grocery store to buy those foods. Some of us have kids to take care for. If you're an adult that understood that you are responsible for your reality and also for the impact that you make in the world and in other people, you might be doing things on top of that because of it. So you can look like you be recording a podcast or two, or writing a book, or starting a group of interest, or volunteering. So all of those responsibilities can become overwhelming because there's a lot to do and not much time to do it. So you could be experiencing the rest guilty too, which is when you have tons of things to do but you're tired, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to give myself this evening just to do nothing. Or I go out with my friends and relax. But either you cannot do it or you do it and you don't feel good about it because you keep thinking on the enormous list of things that you have to do. I noticed that one of the reasons that I was having insomnia is that by bedtime, I would just think about on all the things I didn't do that day, and then I'll have to do on the following day or on the weekend. And what is helping me is to change this guilt for gratitude. So instead of listing all the things I couldn't accomplish that day, I would start listing the things I've accomplished and feeling grateful about it. So let's say today I wanted to go to the gym, eat healthy, work on 30 cases at my job, read a book, and clean the house. So by the end of the day, I end up eating a lot of sugar and not cleaning my house. The insomnia in me will be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Another day that I was incapable of not eating sugar, or oh my God, I need to clean this house, everything's a mess. The gratitude me would act differently because I'm starting to apply the fourth way to improve self compassion, which is reframing the inner critic in me. Instead of telling myself I'm not disciplined enough because I ate sugar today when I shouldn't, look at the things that I accomplished. Like, I went to the gym and I ran 3 miles. And I had a great day at work because I dealt with all the cases I wanted. Or I really am enjoying this book that I'm reading. I'm happy I got to read a little bit today. And I feel like a way to combat this inner criticism is to speak kindly about ourselves. Even complimenting ourselves, like, I am a good reader. I am good at my work. I am becoming physically stronger. The other day I was watching a video and this woman, she was inviting you to look at the way you speak about yourself to yourself, because sometimes in front of people you might be like, oh, I am amazing, but you get to your house and you get into your room and you cry feeling like you're horrible. It was the way we speak about ourselves when we are alone with ourselves. And she said, look at this way and see if you speak to a child like that. Or if it will be okay if you hear somebody else talking to a child like that. And I think this is a great way for us to show self-compassion. Like, I deserve kindness too. I don't have to be this unbreakable person that goes over everything quickly, efficiently. Sometimes I won't accomplish the things I want on the pace I want, and that is okay. Sometimes I will feel more tired, and that is also okay. I feel like a lot of compassion has to do with forgiveness. And I think that one of the most difficult things for us to do is to forgive. And this can be forgiving other people, but also forgiving ourselves, forgiving us for being a flawed creature. My mom used to have a quote on her WhatsApp that was, "Forgiving is canceling the debt." And this will make sense to me until I heard this guy called Helio Couto giving an example that expand my mind about this. I'm gonna share with you. So imagine that you were invited to a house of somebody that is really rich. And there's this party going on, and people started to drink, and you were among these people just out there having your fun. And then you started to be a bit clumsy. And in this clumsiness, you break a vase, and the vase shatters in hundreds of pieces. Everybody at the party stop to look at you, and you don't know where to hide your face. You don't know what to do. You feel ashamed of your clumsiness, and then the owner of the house comes to check it out what happened, and you start to apologize to this person, like, "I'm so sorry, I was drunk, I didn't know what I was doing. When I noticed, I was holding this vase because I want to see it, how it was inside. It looked so beautiful, and then suddenly it fell out of my hands. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I didn't mean to do this." And the host listened to your apologies and look at you calmly and say, "Don't worry, I understand. These things happen. No hard feelings. I forgive you." When you were about to feel relieved with his reaction, he adds, "I'll tell my secretary to call you Monday, and then you can work with her to figure it out what is the best way for you to pay for the vase." And in this moment, your eyes pop out your face and you're shocked, like, "What? Pay for the vase?" And the host say, "Yeah, this cost $10,000. It's a very valuable vase." And you're still in disbelief. You look at this person and you say, "But you say you forgave me for breaking it." And the host say, "Yeah, I forgive you. I have no hard feelings. I understand that it was an accident." And you were like, okay, so if you forgave me and if you understand that is an accident, why are you making me pay for this?" And the host said, "I have a partnership with a designer company, and they come and borrow me things to decorate my house. I host the parties here, and then people look at those objects and they want to purchase. I indicate where they can buy it. And in a couple of weeks, they will come and change all the objects again to align with their new collection. If I want to keep any object, I can purchase and then it will be mine. This vase that you broke, I cannot return to them. And when this happens, we have to pay back the value of the object. I truly understand the situation and I know that it didn't mean to. I have no hard feelings about it, but I was not the one who broke it. So why should I take $10,000 off my pocket for something that you've done?" And you stay quiet for a while, but end up mumbling, "This is not fair. It was an accident." And the host said, "Agreed, but it was your accident, not mine." And I feel like we romanticize forgiveness because most times forgiveness is portrayed as this magic eraser that would just delete every bad thing that happened. We would hold grudge against people just because we think that if we forgive them, we will be agreeing with their actions. And we can assume this position of, "Oh, I don't want to be complying with this person. They are wrong and I don't want to be part of it. So I'm not going to forgive them." And this is 100% not the case. When you forgive somebody or when you forgive yourself, you don't delete the consequences of their actions. Forgiving doesn't change the course of things. I briefly talked about the Hermetic laws in other episodes. One of the Hermetic laws is cause and consequence, action and reaction. So if you did something, the consequences are coming. If you did something good, then the consequences will be good. If you did something not so good, then the consequences will not be so good. How you feel about the consequences or about the actions will not change what was done. Will just change how you feel this. That's why that the last example I'm going to bring on how to implement self-compassion in your life is allowing yourself to feel. I believe that for a tremendous number of reasons, we can repress our feelings. And I think that guilty plays a huge role on this repression. Like, you feel guilty if you feel in a certain way. I've studied family systemic constellation, and I do this practice to people that are close to me. And this approach, it's based on three principles: belonging, hierarchy, and balance. Well, belonging is everybody belongs. So you might think that your grandfather was a horrible person that done horrible things, but he's still your grandfather. He's still part of your family. If it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be here. Because if it wasn't for him, one of your parents wouldn't be alive. And if one of your parents wouldn't alive, you wouldn't be alive. So it's a chain reaction, and all family members belongs to the system. We have no right to exclude them. The second pillar, which is the hierarchy, is that who came first is bigger than who came after. And who came first, you or your parents? Your parents. So your parents are bigger than you. You cannot carry your parents' weight because your parents' weight is bigger than you can handle because they're bigger than you. And the last one is balance, which is for a relationship as like couples or friendships or even business partnership. And the balance is you give as much as you receive. It has to be in equal proportions. It can be in different things, but the proportion has to be the same. So for example, you cook and your partner do the dishes. So his contribution to the cooking could be 0%, but he's 100% contributing by cleaning the kitchen. And if you both are okay with this arrangement, there is balance. I love the family systemic constellation. I felt like it freed a lot of people, including myself, on understanding their family dynamics, on taking out of burden that they were carrying. But I think that this principle of belonging can be misunderstood. And I feel like I started to have more self compassion when I dealt with this aspect about my father, because my father have done things that I'm not proud of, right? But I would think like, oh, he's still my father. I cannot exclude him from my system. I must forgive him. And this practitioner told me that I had to put effort on having a relationship with my father. And I would feel kind of angry about it at first, but I felt like, okay, if is this what I need to heal, I have no hard feelings about this. I'll try and I will, try to get closer to my dad. But in order for me to do that, I have to tell myself the story on how my dad changed and became a better person. And I think we do that a lot of times because it's easier for us to forgive someone that has changed than to forgive someone that has done something to you. And if they had the opportunity, they would do it again and again. But I don't know if forgiving someone over a fantasy that we create is true forgiveness. And when I met my dad on my last trip to Brazil and I could see that he didn't change, all of this fantasy that I had created kind of just fell down in front of my eyes. It took me around 5 months to digest all of this. But I'm a truly believer that everything that happens, even the shitty things, carries the opportunity for us to evolve. It was when I shift this movement of trying to forgive my father and, have a relationship with him, to just try to forgive him and move on with my life. Before, I was thinking that I was not truly forgiving him if I say, hey, Dad, I forgive you, but yeah, I think we shouldn't speak. And then I noticed that I was just bringing this burden to myself and this guilty of not wanting to be around a person that was toxic to me and toxic to my sisters and to my mom. And I feel that what elevate my self-compassion was to allow myself to feel okay with this decision. I stopped feeling guilty or doubting myself on my forgiveness level towards my father, because I accept that it was okay for me to want to feel protected, that I'm not forgiving less because I'm choosing this person not to be part of my life at the moment. And I stopped creating this fantasy that my dad had become a better person, except that he was still on the same patterns. And I decided to draw a line there, like, okay, I forgive you for the past, but I don't want the past to repeat. So if you're still the same person doing the same old things, we can be having a relationship right now. And I think this was compassion to him, in a sense that, okay, you've made mistakes, but I forgive you. They belong to the past. And also to myself, in a sense of, I need to take space from you because I don't want you to feel like you have room to repeat the same mistakes you've done in the past. Because after all, compassion is one thing, trusting is another thing that, when applied to relationships, it's a two-way road. This is going to be a discussion for another episode. So for now, allow yourself to feel self-compassion to the point that it will start to overflow to other people. Let's fill this world with compassion, guys. Thank you for your time. See you.